And friends, at this time we are going to begin the funeral services for William Lewis Silverman. Again, as a final gentle reminder, if you have a cell phone or a pager, please take a moment to turn it off or make sure it's in the silent mode. Officiating today's services will be Cantor Jennifer Frost, and as we begin the service today, the cantor will lead the family in the tradition of Kriya.
Asayin el harim mehayin yavo Ezri meim Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz Hine lo yanum velo ishan Shomer Yisrael Hine lo yanum velo ishan Shomer Yisrael Esaein el harim Me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage. A sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. Adonai roi lo echsar Bino deshe yarbitzeni על מי מנוחות, על מי מנוחות, ינעלני. נפשי ישובב, ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות לא אירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי, לפניי, שולחן נגד צורריי. תשענת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, אדוני רואי לא אחsar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We are an ancient people, and we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow, they are not strangers to us. Yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. So we say now with Job, Adonai Natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will never be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in his life, we offer the deepest thanks of our heart. Adonai Lakach, and God, you have taken away. So we pray now for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust, before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love, as we say now, Yehi Shem Adonai Mavarach. Blessed be the name of God, now and forever. It does great honor when those who knew us the best rise up to sing your praises. Those who have loved unconditionally and beautifully and passionately. And Bill was certainly loved unconditionally, beautifully, and passionately by, I would probably say, everyone in this room, but especially those that are sitting in the front row. And I am so sorry, Helen, for your loss. And for our loss at BJBE, because Helen and Bill were forever members, it felt like, over 48 years. And that's an extraordinary gift to us and to all of you. So I'd like to invite his grandchildren to come forward and to say some words.
We tried to come up with a silly line to start this out, but let's be real. Papa was the true jokester of the family. It is difficult to put into words the significant role he played in each of our lives. We are so grateful to have known, to have loved, and to have been loved by this one-of-a-kind, inspiring person. There's a piece of him that will live on through every single one of us. He has taught us countless valuable lessons, 9 of which we will share with you here today.
Papa showed me how to generously care for others. He was a complete role model to me. He really enjoyed helping others more than anything else in the world. It was in the little things. He would never let anyone do anything for him and always did everything for others, especially his family. As far as I can remember, every time any of us saw Papa, he gave us a firm handshake with a $20 bill crinkled in his palm, as he wanted to always make sure that we were taken care of.
Papa was our family historian and taught us the importance of keeping traditions and stories alive. He had an impressive ability to memorize dates and tiny details of his childhood, his time in the Army, and his love story with Grammy. No story went untold and no paper was left blank, with every thought scribbled around on Post-it notes scattered throughout the house in places he'd never find them. Papa told his stories over and over again, but now we're thankful that these stories will live on through us for generations to come.
Papa taught us to always follow our hearts and love deeply. He had the most beautiful, golden heart of any man we will ever know. He loved Grammy so loudly, he openly adored her. It was obvious in the way he would drape a sweater over her shoulders when she was cold, rub her feet after a long day, and stretch alongside her every morning. They were inseparable. Where there was Helen, there was Billy. Papa has 7 granddaughters that will forever have an unattainable standard for a husband, as no one can come close to giving us the kind of unconditional, selfless, truly kind and gentle love that he gave to Grammy and the rest of his family throughout his entire life.
Papa showed us how to bring laughter and joy to every situation. It was impossible for him to go unnoticed. He made every room his personal stage. People were drawn to his infectious energy, his constant jokes, and lighthearted personality. Every phone call started with a punchline, used as an opportunity to make us laugh. Whether he forgot to put in his fake tooth or was wearing a goofy tie, Papa was never afraid to poke fun at himself so he could spread laughter for us all. Today, we're wearing Papa's silly ties in his honor.
One of the biggest lessons Papa taught us was to capture all the moments, big and small. He's the man behind the lens, the family videographer, the photographer that no one hired. He captured every awkward moment and every person mid-chew, even before candids were cool. Over the last few days, we spent time going through countless boxes of photos, reminiscing on moments he made sure to capture. And while we eye-rolled in the moment, we are so grateful for the gallery of family memories that he left behind for us.
The saying goes, good things come to those who wait, but Papa taught us that good things come to those who work hard. He taught us the importance of putting in the time and effort to achieve your goals. I first saw this early in my childhood. I was given a flower that was intended to sprout on my first day of kindergarten and die a month later. Papa diligently tended to the flower and kept it alive until I graduated high school. He was my biggest champion, supporting me in any way he could through my medical school experience, and becoming a doctor was always his dream. I'll continue working hard for Papa so that I can live out our shared dream.
Papa was our family's built-in protector and taught us to look after each other, always making sure everyone was safe and taken care of. In the last week of Papa's life, we learned that his Hebrew name, Avigdor, translates to Father Protection. He more than lived up to his name, which truly embodied his sense of purpose in life. He protected our family, our connection to Judaism, our traditions, and all the things most sacred to us.
Above all else, Papa taught us that family always comes first. Papa was at every birthday party, soccer game, and dance recital. When we asked Papa his greatest accomplishment in life, without hesitation, he said his family. He was more than a grandfather, but truly a second dad. He gave all of us driving lessons, reserved Sundays for family dinners, and drew us maps by hand to make sure we never got lost, long after Google Maps came out. Papa is the patriarch of our family and the glue that holds us together. While it feels impossible to think about how we'll go forward from here, he built such a strong foundation for our family, and his memory will continue to live on through us.
There aren't enough grandchildren to represent all of the things we've learned from our Papa. He has influenced us immeasurably and will continue to impact the way we live and grow our family. With that, we'll leave you with a few of our favorite Papa-isms that we'll always remember him by. Your water glass should always be at 12 o'clock. Make sure to park your car in the shade. Always bring a sweater. Never count money in front of a window. Every birthday song ends with, and many more. Always carry a tissue and a mint in your pocket. Put your train up, baby. There's always room for dessert. No day is complete without a really good nap. And live every day like it's your last, and remember how lucky we are to have each other.
Elise, Susie, and Michael.
first. You are going first. I'm happy to go first if you want.
The dash. The date we were born, followed by the date when we pass, matters not. But the dash between those dates is what matters most, and how we chose to live our life. Our dad has a very colorful and interesting life, but in the end I can sum it up with just a few words. That he was the kindest, most loving, silly, generous person I will ever know. He was beyond affectionate, always greeting me with a hug, a kiss, and saying, "I love you." He was generous with his words, his action, every part of his life. He set the bar impossibly high for what it meant to be a loving man and father. He was passionate about tennis, golf, gardening, art, cars, but above all, about us, his family. He never remembered names, but he never forgot a date, a phone number, an address. His long-term memory for the details of life was unmatched. Growing up, we always went on trips to Florida, and when he said the weather was too unpredictable, we went on to Mexico. We took some road trips to Peoria to visit our cousins, his sister, Nippersink, Lake Geneva, a road trip to the Catskills in New York City, drove the coast of California, and later, visiting me when I was studying abroad, we met up in Italy, and when I moved to New York, visiting me there. He did all the barbecuing. He was always the one to wash the dishes. Most men would wait for the women to clean up, but he just said, "Get out of my way and let me do it." He loved running errands and going to the grocery store, picking out his favorite Entenmann's donuts, peanut butter cups, Doritos, gumdrop candy, and wintergreen mints. He also loved the small things, a nap in the afternoon, a happy hour meal deal in the Baham Desert, going to Costco for samples, hot dogs, and a good deal. He was not just a collector of cars, but collected everything from toothpicks and Sweet and Low packets, lollipops at the bank, and pens from everywhere, to Playboy's, National Geographic, and Life magazines. We begged him to start parting with some of his collections to no avail. He was also a storyteller, mischievous, funny, colorful. He told tales about being a pyromaniac at the age of 3, running away from home in his diapers, stealing pencils at the age of 5 from the 5 and dime where his aunt worked, and getting caught causing trouble at shul. His wardrobe matched his personality: fringe coats, cowboy hats, saddle shoes, eclectic belts and ties. He would wear all of one color of brown or blue that did not match, but he said it did. It was all the same brown. He didn't care what people thought. He wore what made him feel alive. Dad shared with me some of his passions. He taught me about cars, and I knew all the vehicles, make, and models. When I was 16, he took me to pick out a car, and I picked out a red Celica convertible because I knew he loved red and convertibles. We also shared love for Dairy Queen and Baskin-Robbins ice cream, all of us, going to art fairs, driving our tops down, and enjoying a good cup of Starbucks. Being the firstborn, I think I was a little more coddled and protected by him, and therefore I never wanted to disappoint him. I wanted him to be proud of me no matter what. He was so nurturing and made it known how proud he was of me. He would often say, "Thank you for just being you, and thank you for answering the phone every time I call, and I know that I can always count on you." I knew he knew that no matter what, I'd always show up for him and him for me. My very first memory of my dad was when I was a baby, and he taught me to call out from my crib, "Daddy, Daddy Billy, come and get me," so I wouldn't wake up my mom, but just him. From the very beginning, I knew that if I called for him, he would always come, and that's how it was for the rest of my life. Whenever I called, he was there, and even when I didn't call, he just knew I needed him, and he was there. He lived by one principle: family comes first. When his parents were older, he was always there to lend a hand, and when his mom passed, he would find things for his dad to do at the office to keep him busy, such as running to court, opening the mail, followed by an afternoon nap on the black leather couch. He kept Papa involved in his work and life and made him feel needed with dignity. When his sister Gloria, who lived in Peoria, where we would make our annual visits, was there, and she was taking care of Uncle Saul, and later in Florida, getting remarried, or when she became sick herself, he was there that day on a flight by her side. When any of my cousins needed any help, advice, legal, anything, he was there. When Aunt Doreen lost Uncle Larry, he made sure to call, check on her, and have dinner as often as possible, as well as reminisce about stories of their childhood adventures, which always entertained us. He was always expressing that family comes first above everything and always be there for each other. He loved my mom fiercely. Growing up, when my mom and I disagreed, he'd say, "She's the boss. She's your mom, and I love her. Listen to your mom." When I wanted to clean out expired food, he'd say, "Oh, no, you can't do that. You're going to upset your mom. Leave it alone." He was her protector, her equal, her partner. He respected her, always. Deferred to her in disagreements, always protecting her. Every night at 10 o'clock, they had a ritual. They'd sit on the couch with dessert, whether a bowl of ice cream, grapes, or watermelon, and he'd rub my mom's feet. It was such a simple act, but it said everything about him and his love to physically connect, and we witnessed that. He also treated my Grammy Edith, my mom's mom, like his own. She was the family matriarch, and he deferred to her wisdom and cared for her always. He was loyal, steady, full of devotion, not just to Mom and to Graham, but to everyone. When I talked about getting a part-time job during college, he told me, "Absolutely not. Your first full-time job is studying and going to school. Work in the summer." When I wanted to go to grad school in New York, he didn't hesitate. "Whatever you want." Always paying for education, expenses, anything. When I considered going to law school, he said, "Don't do it. You'll wake up every day with a headache. Find something you love, and it won't feel like work. Life's too short." He always said, "Don't worry about money." He taught us that money should be respected and we should be thoughtful about spending. But he also said there's more to life than just making money. He gave me the courage to follow a career I love, and he gave me the safety net to do it, funding all of our educations, and even letting us all three live at 2 East Stoke rent-free. He never asked for anything, not a penny. He just wanted us to always be happy. On another note, Dad always worried about us constantly. He was endlessly affectionate, always greeting me with the biggest "I love you," and he just set that bar so impossibly high. Being the best father, the best husband to my mom. When I became a mom, I saw that love expand. He was the most joyful papa, showing up for all the kids' events, helping them study for their bat mitzvahs, attending all their dance recitals and graduations, and having dinner almost every Sunday. After my divorce, he wasn't just my dad. He became my rock, my safety net, my person. He showed up at my house for landscaping meetings, flower planting, handyman appointments, garage sales, lugging all the merchandise in and out, doctor's appointments, anything he could think of to make my life easier. He would bring my car in for service and run errands that needed to be done. I never had to buy a furnace filter or a light bulb in my life. He helped me every year with my taxes, and my friends thought he was an accountant, not a lawyer. When Rachel was diagnosed with cancer, he was at my doorstep waiting for me to return home from the appointment just to give me a hug, and told me how horrible he felt that his baby's baby was sick, and he'd give anything to take it from her. "Let me be sick, not her," he'd say. And he held on to me and we just cried. He came to every chemo appointment wishing out loud he could carry the pain. That's who he was, somebody who wanted to carry burdens for the other people he loved. He built homes with intention. We were the first house on the block on Happy Hollow Road, growing up at 5 doors down from the school. He was intentional that our backyard was full of willow trees, hence the willows, mindful that where we lived was peaceful and felt like home. He added on to our house as our family grew. making sure extended family could be there whenever they wanted. When their house no longer suited them, they built a new one in Highland Park and personally designed every element. That house is filled with them. Each room and each piece of decor was meticulously picked out by them. He believed in creating spaces where life could be lived fully of warmth, lots of color, tons of plants and flowers. It was an honor to water the jungle in their house while they were in California, as it was his passion to be surrounded by nature. When I moved my store from my home to a storefront, he came to approve the new space because his guidance, keen eye for possible problems, and approval always mattered. He made me feel confident in my choices. Later, he and Mom became staples at my store. He came every day, entertaining us, trying on sunglasses, hats, scarves, anything to amuse us. He also took on the responsibilities of overseeing store security, discreetly monitoring customers' activity, and quietly noting any suspicious behavior or potential incidents of theft. He was always worried, even when I told him, "Don't hover over the customers." He goes, "I need to do it." He had a love-hate with food. He'd say no meals were good. Still, he always wanted to go out for dinner because what mattered was being together. He'd call daily, "Where are we going tonight for dinner? What are we eating?" Was he afraid I'd go hungry or something? And if I was busy, he'd say, "Good." And he'd call Michael or Susan to see what they wanted. He was colorful in every sense of the word. His art, his wardrobe, his humor, his stories. They were full of bold strokes and laughter. He told mischievous tales of getting into trouble. He wore cowboy hats, fringe jackets, eclectic ties, and didn't care what anybody ever thought. On his 50th wedding anniversary, our parents took us all to the Dominican, where he rode segways with us, zip-lined. But again, the real pleasure was just being with us. And he loved my mom so fiercely. He respected her as his equal, and again, always deferred to her. When she broke her hip, I flew out to California not just to help her, but to help him, because he cared so much for her. I wanted somebody to care for him. His generosity was the same, quiet, steady, and endless. We always knew he donated to many charities such as JUF, JNF, Holocaust, Hillel, Botanic Garden, Chicago Art Institute, and more. But just as he passed, we discovered that there were hundreds of organizations, wildlife conservation, educational funds, Native American causes, the poor children of the world, international. If somebody needed help, he gave it. While we thought he was drowning in paperwork, he was busy writing checks. Giving was his second nature. It was his quiet way of leaving the world a better place than he found it. In the end, I think his greatest gift was making each of us feel like we were his person. He had a way of creating bonds so strong and so personal that we all walked away feeling we were each his favorite. That's how much love he had to give, more than enough for everyone. My dad was generous, devoted, funny, mischievous, affectionate, and endlessly kind. He lived life in full color with laughter, love, and boldness, and taught us to do the same. Dad was a storyteller, protector, collector, a presence, a provider, a source of endless humor and unconditional love. He was truly the greatest gift we have ever been given. I know that you would still be here with us if you could, Dad, but it was your time. The dash was so well lived. You will always be with me, guiding me, watching over all of us, and sending us the warm love you showed us while you were here with us in person. I love you with everything in my being and will miss your physical presence always. Thank you.
You're going to hear a little bit of overlap, but I'll try not to be too repetitive. When you're a kid, you think your dad is the greatest. It's only when you become a dad yourself and have knowledge and experience, then you know what kind of a dad you really had. He was the greatest dad, the greatest. I called him the GOAT because he was the greatest. What made my dad great was the perfect balance of qualities. He was loving, caring, supportive, patient, extremely generous. He had a heart of gold. And I'm adding to this, he was also very funny and silly. Those qualities didn't start at an early age. They developed over time, which makes his transformation all the more amazing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my father, and then I'm going to go into the specifics of what he meant to me. You see, in my dad's early years, he was a troublemaker. He had some interesting experiences that also fed into his toughness. As a little boy, he set his parents' house on fire, playing with matches in a closet. Another time, he threw a stone through the window of the synagogue during Friday night services. Both times, I think he got in a lot of trouble. From ages 12 to 17, he had to be a tough kid. He worked weekends at his grandfather's carpet and flooring store on Maxwell Street with his uncles. His job was security, watching the rolls of carpet outside and reporting and chasing anyone trying to steal them. He worked with a man who literally was crazy and frightened my dad. His rough edges continued into high school. He admitted he was not the best student, and he got into fights. But somehow, despite these early and tough experiences, my dad amazingly became such a loving, patient, and sweet soul. From my conversations with my dad, I believe 2 moments changed his life forever. One was joining the Army, and the second was meeting my mom. The Army gave him structure and purpose. I think his Army experience set him on the right path, giving direction to the troublemaker he once was. The second life-changing event was my mom. They met on the beach in Michigan City. My dad asked for her number, and she told him, "Look it up in the phone book." She was younger than him and tough, and I think he realized he met his match. Thankfully, he looked up her number, or else I wouldn't be standing here today. Together, they built a life. My dad worked his way through college and law school, delivering subpoenas all over Chicago for 10 cents. When he had to go to a dangerous neighborhood, he charged a quarter. His tough childhood served him well. Soon after, my dad went to law school and he struggled through it, but with my mom's help, he persevered and graduated and passed the bar. His legal career began as a hustler. He went to traffic court to strum up business. He would approach strangers and ask them if they needed a lawyer for their ticket. He also worked with an older lawyer on cases, and he would go on to build a legal practice through sheer grit and tenacity. His legal practice began to grow. Eventually, he hired Susie at the start of her career and gave me my start in my legal career. He taught me everything I know as a lawyer, and he was a good teacher. I want to tell a quick little story. My first trial was 1996. I passed the bar in 1996. My dad tried the case with me. He argued to the judge when it was necessary to do so, so I didn't have to. He let me do all of the glamorous things in front of the jury, the opening, the direct, the cross, the closings. We won the case, and for a good amount of money when the verdict was read. And after it was read, he turned to me and said, "You're trying all the cases now." That was my dad. He believed in me before I believed in myself. He was serious about me trying all of the cases. My next trial was a case that if we won, our fee literally could be what my dad would make in a year. He trusted me, a 27-year-old, to try this case that could make him his entire fee for the year. That was my dad. 100% trust in me. Thank God we won. I want to shift now to my childhood and a few stories that will explain to all of you who my dad was and why he was the greatest. At home, he was always present in my life. After long days of work, sometimes not getting home till 8 o'clock or later, He'd sit down for a dinner, and I would join him for my second dinner. I just wanted to be with him. After dinner, we would play. He would play with me on the floor, giving me rides on his back like he was a horse. There was nothing that made me happier. I recall a time when he truly was my hero. I was playing on a weekend with friends across the street from my house at my good friend's house. I must have been around 7. We were playing a game of cowboys and Indians, and I was the lone Indian. My friends caught me, and they tied me to a tree. I was yelling for help to save me. Somehow, my dad heard me, and like Superman, he came flying across the street and rescued me. His active presence in my life continued. We joined Indian Guides when I was 7. Even though he was the oldest dad in the group by far and busy at work, we went to every meeting and every activity. It was a highlight of my childhood. He was Big Cougar and I was Little Cougar. Next came baseball. My dad played catch with me for hours and hours. I would pitch to him and he would squat down like a catcher and call balls and strikes. When I became older and stronger and my pitches started to hurt his hand in the terrible glove that he had, my dad didn't complain. Instead, he bought a catcher's mitt just so I can continue to pitch to him. He became my assistant coach for years and then the head coach, all to be an involved dad in my life and support me. Then came high school and I played tennis. My dad was so happy when we played doubles on the weekends at Highland Park Country Club. He loved our weekend doubles matches. I loved them as well. And he loved to show me off to all of his friends when we beat them. When it came time to choose a college, he never once told me I was making the wrong decision when I got into Wisconsin, Indiana, or Illinois, and instead decided to go to Arizona. Even though it was much more expensive, he supported me. He traveled with me when I applied very late to visit the school and helped me find a place to live, since all the dorms were already filled since I applied so late. That was my dad. He dropped everything at work to take me out of state so I could be all set at college. He even bought the most expensive CB radio on the market for me, just so that me and Susie can talk on the drive to Arizona, because we were in separate cars. She was going to Arizona State and I was going to Arizona. After college, when I was in law school, I worked for my dad as a clerk. One day, he proudly talked about me to a federal judge he knew and asked him to offer me a clerkship. My dad insisted I take the position, even though it meant leaving working for him. But that was my dad, always putting his children and my interests ahead of his own. My dad always knew also what to say to make things better. When I took the bar exam, which is a 2-day exam, after the first day, my dad called me, of course, to ask how it went. I told him, there is no reason I should go back tomorrow. There is no chance I'm going to pass. He said, Mike, I'm sure everyone feels the exact same way. I bet you did much better than you think. It was exactly what I needed to hear. When I passed the bar and I needed suits for work, I told him I wanted good suits, not the ones from Mr. Eddie, my childhood suit store that probably sold a $100 suit. He took me to an expensive men's suit store in Chicago called Sid Jerome. He bought me 2 Hugo Boss suits for $750 each in 1996. He did this even though he would never spend that amount of money on himself, and he never stepped foot in Sid Jerome before me. Even 2 weeks ago, I was on trial. He called me every day at the end of the day. He asked how I was doing, if there was anything I could do. He asked about the case, and I told him how difficult it was, and I don't feel good about it. He told me, Mike, it sounds like a very difficult case, and the client is lucky to have you because now she actually has a chance. That's all I needed to hear. That leads me to a huge characteristic of my dad, and you heard it from Lise. He was unique. He did what he wanted. He didn't care about labels like Hugo Boss or Polo when Polo was in. He beat to his own drum, and that's what set him apart from all other dads. He loved the most colorful, crazy clothes that were out there. I've never seen a more outlandish set of coats, sweaters, shirts, hats, ties in one man's closet in my life. I am wearing this one today in honor of him. It's one of the craziest ties I think he had. Owen is also wearing one of his ties that we also picked out. The more colors and shapes on the tie, the better it was. From Coogie sweaters to his jacket with tassels, fur, multicolors that was too big that he bought in Alaska, it didn't matter. For years, he wore a cowboy hat in the winter. When he walked onto the train, people would greet him and say, "Good morning, Cowboy Bill." His cars matched his personality. The man bought outlandish cars. He had a red convertible Triumph TR6. My dad complained that the clutch was so hard to press down to shift gears, it was almost undrivable. I think it was undrivable. He owned a 1963 Ford Thunderbird, a 1976 Cadillac Eldorado, and who can forget the Mercedes limo that could barely fit in the garage and some people thought was a hearse. He went from a limo to a Porsche and a red Corvette that I could only explain as a midlife crisis. We have had more cars in 5 years than I've owned in my entire life. Another requirement was to wash the cars regularly. Since they were washed so often and it was the summertime, he made me wash them on the grass in front of the house. That way we can wash the cars and water the grass at the same time. Kill two birds at the same time. His love for the outlandish went into his art. There is such a variety of artwork in his house that you will see that a person could believe that the Louvre and the Guggenheim Museums merged into my parents' house. My dad bought the most colorful piece of art about 15 years ago, a giant Jerry Garcia painting. My dad could not tell you who in the world Jerry Garcia was. He couldn't tell you if it was a musician or his neighbor. But it had a ton of color, and that's all that mattered. My dad's uniqueness continued to my friends. They didn't call him Mr. Silverman, Bill, or Billy. They called him Sir William. I guess his uniqueness made him royalty. Even at the end, my dad was special. In my last trip to Palm Springs, my dad needed a new laptop. We went to Best Buy, and he bought a computer and saved about $150. My dad loved a good deal. They had to transfer the data from his old laptop to the new one, so they took and kept the computer. When we went to pick up the computer, a better one was on sale now for $250 off. My dad was so excited. He said, "I want to return the $150 off computer for the $250 off one." A short argument later with the manager, and they agreed. My dad was so excited getting a less expensive and better computer that he said, "We're going for steaks." I said, "Great, are we going to Ruth's Chris or Morton's?" And he said, "I've got something better." We went to Outback Steakhouse. My dad could not turn down a good deal. The crazy part is, even though my dad loved a great deal, he was not cheap. He would spend any amount of money on his kids and grandkids. There were no limits. Each one of us had a car when we were 16. He would offer to help any and all of his grandchildren at any time. He was super generous. In 1996, I was taking the train, I was walking to work with him, and he stopped and gave a homeless man $20 in 1996. I'll never forget it. I said, "Dad, what are you doing, $20? He looked at me and he said, "Mike, he needs it more than us." That was my dad. Just last week at the hospital, when the nurse who was caring for him told us that she was leaving for the day, my dad said, "Wait, let me give you $100 for taking care of me." The nurse laughed, but that was my dad. To say my dad was unique, special, and generous and did what he wanted and bought what spoke to him is an understatement. That is who he was. And that brings me to my last section. What set my dad apart and made him the greatest? His love, dedication, and support of his family. First, his love of my mom. Dad could not love Mom anymore. His life revolved around making her happy. His life was making sure she was taken care of. His life was to provide the best of everything that she wanted. They traveled together. They went to Palm Springs together. They went on vacations together. I cannot recall a single time that they traveled alone or apart. Everything was done as a pair. They were married for 63 years. If a life is to be judged by the happiness of your wife, my dad truly was the GOAT. I do not recall a single fight my parents had in 63 years. In the last few years, my dad's focus was 100% focus on my mom and doing what she wanted, including right before he passed. They played golf on Wednesday when I took him to a doctor because he wasn't feeling well, and he played 3 holes only. And my mom continued to play for a few more, and he sat with her because he wanted to make her happy. Next was his love for his grandkids. I've heard there is nothing better than becoming a grandparent because you get to spend time with your grandkids, spoil them endlessly, and then return home without all the daily duties of a parent. I can honestly tell you my dad loved every grandchild with every ounce of his being and doing anything and everything with them. If he had it his way, he would stay at all of our houses and have those parental duties. He wanted to be a part of their lives and be around them as much as possible and be involved in their lives because of love, not because it was hoped or expected. He was always asking them, what are you doing? What's going on with your life? What can I do for you? His happiness came from giving, not receiving. He loved his grandkids with all of his heart, never overbearing, always supportive. His generousness with his grandkids, he was always generous with his grandkids as well, as you heard, always slipping them a $20 bill as if we didn't know it, but of course we did. His only fee was asking them for help on how to use his cell phone or his computer. He was, to say the least, cell phone challenged, to put it simply. If only my dad created an app that made money for butt dials. Oh my gosh. Finally, his love for his kids. He loved the 3 of us more than any dad could love his kids. He provided for us. He gave us a happy and privileged life that was much, much easier than his own. He was caring, supportive, generous, a teacher, an advisor, and most of all, a loving dad. His goal was to make sure we had everything we needed, and if we needed anything, he would provide it. He was the greatest security blanket that a child could ever wish for and an adult could ever wish for. He was the knight in shining armor saving us when we needed saving. He instilled in all of us a work ethic that has served us well. Most importantly, he taught us how to be a good parent and the importance of being there for our kids and to support them, listen to them, be more than a parent, but someone they can count on no matter what, no matter how bad things get, you're there and you support them and you don't judge them. He never judged any of us. When a neighbor once told me that I make him look bad because I'm always out in front of my house playing with my kids, I looked at him and I said, I learned from the best. Dad, you taught me how to work hard, how to be generous, how to love, and most importantly, how to be a good father. Look at the family you created and what an amazing life we all have because of you. You left big, big shoes to fill. I will do the best I can to fill them to continue your legacy. I thank you. You are the greatest.
The good thing about going last is I'll do the Cliff Note version of what you've already heard a couple times. But the one thing I actually do want to address that everybody asked is what happened to our dad? Because it's a question that's been asked over and over, and it's an answer we just don't have. As Michael said, he was out golfing on Wednesday. He said he didn't feel good. He came home. He seemed very confused. He started calling us and asking us how to turn the TV on, and we realized he was trying to turn the TV on from his telephone and not from the clicker. He was not eating. He would wake up for an hour, and then he'd need to go down and take a nap. We received a call from my mom that something had happened, but we weren't with her, so we didn't know what had happened. I immediately called my brother and sister. My brother ran over to my parents' house, and as much as our mom did not want us to take him to the hospital, we felt he had to go. He went to the hospital. They admitted him into the hospital, and better than what we all knew, he must have known that it was his time to go, despite treatment, test after test after test. Nothing came back that anything was wrong with our dad, but his health deteriorated. He started to get extremely high in fevers. His heart rate began to beat at rates that nobody had ever seen. His blood pressure began to drop. His kidneys began to fail. Every organ in his body just gave up. And while we didn't want him to give up, and we prayed and we tried so hard to fight for him, he felt that it was his time. And when we all finally left the hospital, despite my begging my brother that I didn't want to go, he found the way to leave in peace because we had all finally left him alone. And he was not alone. He had a caregiver that was with him the last 3 nights of his life. And he found his own way to leave this world without suffering, without pain, and without anything other than the dignity that you have heard about from every single one of his children and grandchildren. So while we wish we had the answers, we don't. It's as difficult, it's harder for us. We don't have any answers, which is what makes all of this just so hard for all of us. And with that, well, I don't want my clinics in there. No matter how you prepare yourself for today, it's a day that I thought would never happen, even though I always knew that someday it would. I've encountered many challenges in my life, but the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to sit down and think about what I wanted to say as my final words to eulogize my amazing dad. So as I thought about what I wanted to say, to honor the first man I ever loved, who in my childhood years I actually thought I was going to marry, I want to share a few highlights of who my dad was, and hopefully not be too repetitive, but I acknowledge I'm going to be. Our dad was not just our dad. He was a dad to his grandchildren, his nieces, his nephews, and even like a dad to some of our friends. He was known as William, Bill, Billy, Uncle Bill, Brother Bill, Wild Bill, Sir William, and to his last hospital nurse, he was Bob. I guess it's no surprise he didn't respond to her. He raised us very differently than he was raised, in that he wanted to give us all that he could make. He wanted to make our lives as easy as possible, even though his life wasn't easy. He taught us everything that's important in life, gave us opportunities, educated us, put us through college, helped my sister move to New York City to pursue her career and desire to live in New York City, and then put Mike and I through law school. He forewent rental income to let all 3 of us live at 2 East Oak Street until we could afford to live on our own, and gave us the greatest foundation to succeed in life. After we were all independent until the day he died, he was always there to help when needed. He always reminded me to pay my property taxes and estimated quarterly tax payments every time they were due. He reminded me to change the filters in the HVAC. He taught me how to plant flowers and to make the outside of my house just as nice as the inside of my house. He also tried to get me to slow down. He thought I juggled too much and was a support system that kept me going. My dad was my role model, the family leader, and the most important, greatest protector. He had a heart of gold, despite being a Silverman. He marched to the beat of his own drum and spoke the truth. Now I know why I have no filter. He taught me compassion, which I'm still working on. How being frugal will cause you to miss out on things in life. That saving for the rainy day may never happen. that life is precious and that you need to cherish every minute. But it's his death that has taught me the things that I never realized. I now understand how dying is a part of living and that we must go on. Even if we don't want to. And while he may be gone, his legacy will live on through the three of us. As I look around this room, it is clear that our dad was so loved by all. Even if you did not know him directly, but heard about him from our stories we all told. He was truly one in a million and no ordinary man. He was so unique in so many ways. In his later years in life, he did become a very frugal man. He did not like to spend money, especially on himself, but giving to charities, his grandchildren, the busboys, and anyone in need gave him so much pleasure. His favorite place to go was Costco, especially for a hot dog for lunch. His favorite gift was one that he could tell us to return, which basically was every gift because he didn't want us spending any money on him. His favorite foods had to be burnt and smothered in onions. He rarely ate at restaurants that he liked. I will never forget him calling me last winter, and this happened before Mike arrived, and telling me that he discovered the greatest steakhouse and he couldn't wait to take David and I to. I was so excited that he finally found a restaurant he liked. And when I asked him the name, with the biggest burst of excitement, he said, "The Outback. Have you heard of it?" He loved mushroom soup, but he hated the mushrooms, so he spit them out. He loved French fries, but only if they had no salt. And despite his lack of desire for food, he took every one of us and his grandchildren regularly out for meals. His favorite outfits were typically a mismatch of a 30 or 40-year-old V-neck cashmere sweater over a button-down shirt that absolutely did not match. He loved to golf and had quite an impressive game for a 90-year-old man. He loved to garden and planted each and every flower in the front and back of his house. He loved history and all documentaries. He was a great storyteller, as you've all heard today, and loved to share stories about his past with his grandchildren and told each story as if he was reliving that moment. He loved to trace his ancestry and spend hours trying to recall who was related to who and how they were related. He loved chocolate phosphates and root beer floats and relished in making them for his grandchildren. But what he loved most in this world was his family. And despite being a frugal man and not spending on himself, when it came to his family, he was the most generous human being on the planet. He always tried to secretly hand his grandchildren money when he thought no one was looking, or the busboy who was wiping down the table. He would help any family member or friend in need and made sure that every grandchild never struggled. He was so proud of each and every one of his grandchildren and made each one feel so special. So much that they would each fight over who was their favorite. He had a bond with each and every one of them, and as you can tell from the stories and their tribute to him, he was so special. Nothing was more important to my dad than me, my sister, my brother, and our mother. He was there for every birth of every one of our children. He attended every birthday party as long as he was in town. He attended every graduation from his grandchildren, every bat and bat mitzvah, Rachel and Nicole's college graduations, and never missed a family function. We had the privilege of celebrating his 90th birthday this past June. Nothing gave him more pleasure than being able to celebrate his birthday with his entire family. And as he would say, his friends that were still above ground. He was a man that took care of everyone and expected and wanted nothing in return. He was our mom's caretaker. He would accept no help. He cared for her and loved her deeply until the day he died. He was her everything, and she was the same for him. They shared 63 amazing years together and were rarely apart. They were amazing role models of what a healthy marriage should be, a breath of fresh air from my typical day. And in my dad's typical fashion, through his death, he has taught me something that will give me peace to continue to go on. I gained a clarity that not only did he create me, but he formed me to be the person that I am today. I am a lawyer because of him. I learned to fight for my clients, not just for the money, but with compassion and dignity because of him. I learned to argue, even at times with him, because of him. I played tennis because of him. I was bat mitzvahed because of him. I was reluctantly confirmed because of him. I raised my family the way he raised us because of him. I married a man with great morals and ethics because of him. I purchased a house in Palm Springs because of him. I wanted the life I now have because of him. And what I came to realize is that I am who I am because of him. So, Dad, thank you for teaching me that it's always family first, for instilling in me that values are learned at home and the importance of teaching those values to my children, for showing me how a parent should love their children so they always feel safe and secure, for teaching me how to cultivate and raise them to be educated, amazing, special children, which, by the way, each and every one of them are, and by achieving what I now have, and I now realize that I have reached the ultimate success in life. So, Dad, thank you for all that I have and for who I am, and I will be forever grateful to you for raising me so well and for all that you've taught me in life and already in death. So in honor of my amazing father, I will continue to live, or at least try to live without you, to smile when I walk into a room, to be more patient. I'll admit this one's going to be tough. To continue being true to myself and not worry about what others may think. To eat at all your favorite restaurants and even those that weren't, and to always think of you, and to forever keep your memory alive. I promise you that we will take care of Mom and make you proud, as I promised you we would do. And I will follow in your footsteps and be the person that will continue to make you proud by always putting family first. It has been the greatest privilege in my life to be your daughter, and I will love you for the rest of my life. Rest in peace, my beautiful Dad. Life will never be the same without you. But thank you for giving me the best father any child could ever have, and for paving the road for us to continue on with your legacy. I will love you from infinity and beyond.
I was not strong enough today to speak to any of you and let you know everything about everything. But I let you sit and watch because I am so very, very lucky. And that's why I was so very, very, because I was always lucky enough to have all of my children here. And this does not, as I know, happen all the time. But now, after seeing all of them and how they are and what they are, you understand how difficult it is for me to not have the man that was the person that came back and did everything for all of us. I am so happy that all of you could come and see all of us and know what we are. And I appreciate the fact that we came to see us. Thank you all for everything that has been. And it's hard for me to get this going, but as a mother with all these children, I can tell you, God has given me a lot. Thank you all for coming.
Helen, you raised a tribe, you and Bill. When I met with the family the other day, I asked you to describe your husband and your father and your brother and your papa. And these are the words that you used. He was patient, a protector, altruistic, generous, extraordinary, the consummate role model, kind and caring. And if you looked up the definition of heart of gold in the dictionary, you would have found Bill Silverman's picture. And indeed, Bill leaves behind an extraordinary legacy of which to be proud. All of you right here. Extraordinary. And I have no doubt that his legacy and his memory will live on and the stories will live on because you all knew to tell them to me the other day. So as I said to you, pick up the phone. And when you have a story to tell and you have a memory to share, even if you think you've heard it 150 times, tell it again because we hear differently. He taught you that actions speak louder than words. He taught you to be giving and caring, generous, not to wait for others to ask for help, but instead take the initiative and just do. Lead by example. He taught you to take care of each other. He taught you not to take things too seriously, to laugh and enjoy life. And in this time period between the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it is a time of reflection and introspection. And I think in this moment that Bill would want me to remind you all to engage fully with life, to strive to live life the way he did, gaining every ounce out of it. And I think he would want you to recognize the extraordinary blessings that I know you all do, actually. The extraordinary blessings that surround you and the immense love that you have all received by Bill being in your life. And of course, the theme that you heard over and over and over again, family. Family is everything. Indeed, the name of Bill Silverman is surely inscribed in the book of life. For the book, the memories live on in the hearts and minds of all that loved him. That's all of you. May his memory be for a blessing. I'll ask you now to please rise for El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim shochen b'maromim hamsei menucha nechona תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת אביגדור בן זכריה והינדה, שלחה לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו, לעולמים בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to William, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence and in the shadow of your wings. And let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. We say together, Amen. Please be seated.
Friends, this concludes the services here at the chapel. The interment and burial services will continue at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights. For those of you traveling with us to the cemetery in the funeral procession, please do keep the following safety precautions in mind. Please make sure that your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashers are on at all times. Please be sure to obtain an orange funeral safety sticker for your car, and we will be providing several, but not every car in the procession with a magnetic orange flag to be placed on top of your car. Please travel as close as safety permits to the car in front of you to avoid any gaps in the procession. And for your own safety and security, I would suggest not speaking or texting while driving to the cemetery in the funeral procession. Following the interment, the family will be together at the Silverman residence at 1890 Watercress Way in Highland Park, and the family will be together today as they return from the cemetery until 8:30 this evening. The family has also requested that any memorial contributions in William's memory to the Jewish United Fund, and that information about memorial contributions and Shiva is available in the service folder that you should have received when you came in today. If you did not receive one when you came in, we do have those for you as you leave. And for those of you joining us online, all of the information about Shiva and the memorial contributions is available on our website. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise and stand in place. We'll ask for the grandchildren to come forward to serve as pallbearers to my left as we escort the casket, the clergy, and the family from the chapel.